So I'm going to discuss more pervasive and subtle forms of sexism that are present in our society. It can be really frustrating and overwhelming to try and explain these forms of sexism to people who don't understand. And recently I got into a conversation on Facebook, one of the easiest mediums to discuss sexism, about how the blurred lines video was either sexist on one side or totally not sexist on the other. And there were plenty of logical arguments that were thrown about for the idea that it was a sexist video. But then there are some people who just really didn't seem to understand. And they were like, well, the word bitch is used. I understand that this is a difficult word, but I don't really understand how having women dance around for a music video is sexist. So of course, this brings up the question, how do we deal with more subtle forms of sexism, and how do we educate people and explain to them, because there's so many people who don't quite understand, how sexism has become more subtle, more difficult to identify than just the trope of the barefoot woman pregnant in the kitchen. So how do we discuss sexism with people who, there seem to be three types of people that I've encountered when it comes to discussions of sexism. And the first, and these are of course groups of people who don't fully understand why something is sexist. So first, there are people who just can't be helped. They don't want to check their privilege. And not only do they uphold sexism and say, like, you know, maybe it's on the basis of perceived biological differences, or just like women and men are inherently this way or that, or maybe it's, again, you know, not wanting to check their privilege, but there are people who can't be helped. And you just have to acknowledge that, no matter how overwhelming it is, and move on with your life and try not to get too mad, and try and help the people who do have an interest in understanding and cooperating with you. The next group of people that I've noticed are people who seem to want to identify something as sexist and understand it if it is sexist, but don't really understand how it works. Like, what's happening? Okay, so I hear you say that this is sexist, but I don't understand how this really truly operates. So you have to sit down with people and tease it out and be willing and patient if they really want to learn. And then the third group of people are people who get very defensive when you call them out, or when you call out something that they might appreciate being sexist. And it's difficult because these people seem to have barriers up, and you have to learn to discuss sexism in a way that is not offensive or putting people on the defense, but rather saying, hey, I understand, it's okay, like, let's talk this out. So I'm a big fan of educating people and tolerance and the promotion of education when it comes to different subjects. And I think that educating people on how to cooperatively talk about sexism is a very big deal and very important, and something we could all benefit from.